Take 4. All right, so this week's challenge is pretty cool. It's simple. You just need to play 4 notes. F sharp, A, B, and D. Those are your 4 notes. That's why we call it Take 4. Take those and make them into the most beautiful musical journey that you can, and you will win this week's Trumpet Challenge. The rules for Take 4 are very simple. Only you can be in the video, so just one person. You can use harmonies, so you could split screens or add harmonies on the side. We do need to see you, and please introduce yourself. Whether or not we see your face is totally up to you, but we do need to see some of you. That's just to make sure that you're actually playing the part. And this week we're going to give an extra entry into the carbon fiber HT6 trumpet for each contestant who walks us through a simple progression of how you make your videos. We're doing this because we want viewers to see how to make videos. A lot of people may not participate because they don't understand how to record on their phone or on a video camera and then get that onto YouTube. So you need to show us 3 steps. 1, what did you use to record and how did you do it? Was it your phone? Give us some insight. 2, did you use any software to edit your video? Did you scroll up some introductions or credits? And did you splice? If you did those things, that's fine, but show us what you did. And then the 3rd component is just show us how you got it up onto YouTube. There are many ways to do these things. So if all of us share, then many other people will learn how to do this as well, and then they could join us in the Trumpet Challenge. So for each contestant in week 8 who provides us those 3 steps of how they produced their video and got it on YouTube, you will receive entry into the drawing for the HT6 Carbon Fiber trumpet. It's the easiest way you can get into the drawing now. Last week's Trumpet Challenge was make and play. I wanted you to make an experimental instrument and then play it for us. And I gave you some examples. So if any of you missed these, you may want to go back to week 7 and watch me play my housaphone where I had it all coiled up and had a little piccolo trumpet bell on there. And you may want to also see a very long trumpet, or a herald trumpet that I had created out of a brass tube and a mouthpiece, a receiver, and the bell. And it was a lot of fun to play those. I saw some really cool things come out of this last week, and I want to share some of them with you. So the first one is as simple as it gets. It's just a tube that is coiled up around somebody's head, and it's really impressive to see what Chris has done here without any bell. Alright, so we had several people who did create tube type instruments, and you know, basically you're just taking some tubing, whether it's acrylic or PVC or something else, and you're putting some kind of a funnel or bell on the end and then your mouthpiece on the other end. Let's just take a look at a couple more of these because we had several that were similar.
I'm going to put these 2 together. See this part here, and this part here. We're going to have, voila, the baby trumpet. That was for Spike Jones. Now, for an encore, I have the bottle trumpet. Well, thank you. That's my make and play video. I hope you found some musical entertainment with this video. Please vote for my video as the best so I can win that Harrelson trumpet.
Alright, so our next entry was pretty interesting because he tried 3 different bells. And I have to say that the trumpet bell I thought sounded the nicest, but he did a trumpet bell, and then it looked like a little toy plastic bell, and then maybe a funnel, and that was attached to some copper tubing. So let's look at this one. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. The little red bell was surprisingly nice. So another contestant had taken some PVC tube that was all stitched together into this big giant rectangular looking thing, and the results were pretty interesting. Let's take a look. Alright, so the rules did not specify that you had to build everything for your entry this week. You could have built things in the past. So if you had made some pieces and components because you've been experimenting for years, that's perfectly acceptable. And I'll let you know this, we will have another make and play later on in the contest. So the Trumpet Challenge, probably this summer, we'll have one of these again. So you could start working on new experimental instruments right now to get ready for that. So our next entry was interesting because basically he tried a lot of different things, and it looked like he used a heat exchanger to make what I thought was the nicest sounding low brass instrument. He also made his own maybe baritone or tuba type mouthpiece. Let's take a look.
Dad and I found this in our sap shed, and this is a thin tube from a heat exchanger, and it was used to heat maple sap so that it would get boiled down to maple syrup. And then here's an oil funnel and a smaller section of tubing. And we put holes in that because that is the only way that we found that would actually change the note enough to make it sound like different notes. Otherwise we had tried this kind of thing. So this one with a smaller mouthpiece will sound like this.
So who was the Week 7 Trumpet Challenge winner? Well, it's someone you haven't seen yet. This next contestant did something different than everyone else, which set him apart. He created an instrument that creates 2 different sets of partials just by changing his finger over a tube. So he essentially created 2 resonating cavities. Here we will see Justin with his hosophone that has an extra tube. Very clever. I really enjoyed your video, and your playing was beautiful on this instrument that gave you an extra set of notes. this week's trumpet challenge, Make and Play, receives an entry into the carbon fiber trumpet drawing right here, and this trophy bell, which is pretty cool, but that's not cool enough. It's a make and play challenge, meaning I want you to be able to make things, I want you to be able to play them, so you get a genuine Harrelson Trumpet Bell. Here it is. This is a segment of a bell from one of my experiments. I believe I made this bell and cut it down a very long time ago. It's probably from like 2005. So it's been sitting in our shop in one of my experimental areas, and I haven't used it since. So I hope that you can take this bell and experiment with it, and maybe you can use it in one of our next challenges. A little follow-up to week 7 Make and Play. Because I am an inventor and a maker of musical instruments, then part of this challenge was really to make you aware of the fact that I've been experimenting with brass instruments since I was in college. I started when I was about 17 to 18 years old, and I started making mouthpieces and mod kits like the bottom caps and top caps. I modified things, and eventually that grew into me taking instruments apart and rebuilding them and creating completely new things. So the reason I wanted to have this challenge was so that you could see that this is one avenue to explore really anything in any field, but brass instruments in particular. So if you have an interest in something that you've never really pursued that much, feel free to just take some things apart and experiment and learn something new. I want to show you the first horn I ever built. It's hanging on the wall right behind the camera. So I'm going to grab the camera, and you'll get to see my set here for a minute, and I'm going to show you the first horn I ever built. It was a horn that I bought at a pawn shop for just like $20, and it was brand new. I bought this horn thinking I could take it apart and rebuild it a completely different way to improve the acoustics, especially working with the impedance of the horn. And the results were so astounding. I was so excited about the results that I dropped out of college and started building trumpets for a living. And here I am today. So I want to show you this horn, and then I want you to be encouraged to experiment with anything you're interested in, and also start pulling things out and working with experimental instrument ideas and designs, because we will have another Make and Play this summer. All right, let's grab this camera. So here we are. These are 3 horns hanging up on the wall, and this first one here in the middle is a horn that I built in 2004. This one was built in 2001. That's our first Triton trumpet, and this was the first trumpet I ever built, and that was from 1996. What's special about this horn is that it has 2 sets of tubes for each piece. So there are actually 4 tubes on each segment of every slide. And here's our set where we record the trumpet challenge. And over here are my notes and a whole bunch of mouthpieces that I'm reviewing in between the challenges. So that's all we have for this week. And thank you for participating. Encourage your friends and family to check it out or participate.